The names you know very well are here, like one of the stars from Rio, Lori Hernandez, continues that comeback trail, but also 32-year-old mom of two, Chelsea Memel, a star in Beijing in 2008, a world all-around champ as well. But you have some young names, too, who were too young if the Olympics took place in 2020, but now very much in the mix, and it starts right here in Indy. NBC Sports welcomes you to the 2021 GK US Classic. Top names out there getting ready. First of two sessions today inside the Indiana Convention Center. Welcome, everyone. Great to have you along. So we'll watch the action today and tonight. Terry Gannon alongside the Olympic champs, Nastia Liukin and Tim Daggett. And guys, before we get to who we're going to see today, how about tonight? We're going to see Simone Biles. And already, I guess we've gotten used to it, but yesterday in practice, she did something mind-boggling, amazing once again, Nastia.
You know, it wasn't even just amazing. It was just out of this world. No female gymnast in the entire world has ever done this. A Yurchenko double pike. Look at this.
Incredible height.
Just perfection.
That's 3 times around. I've seen it done on the men's side. Not even a handful of people. And that right there, I'm proud to say, I was about 15 feet away, and it was the best one I'd ever seen by a long shot.
We don't see you in the shot, but trust me, he was there. He was right up close. And Simone Biles even said when she first started doing that, come on, I'll never do it in competition. Well, perhaps. We'll see what she brings to the table tonight here in Indianapolis. This afternoon, the first of two sessions. You know Lori Hernandez. We saw her at the Winter Cup, now back once again. But how about Chelsea Memel, 32 years old now, started maybe as a lark, as something just to keep in shape. But the more she did, the better she got, and here she is.
Oh my goodness, it has been just such an inspiration to be able to watch her throughout this entire journey, really. And just to be here on the competition floor, I think she's setting such a good example to so many people, not just here at this competition, but all around the world, really. That age truly is just a number. She is doing it for the love of the sport.
And a teammate of yours, you know her well from 2005, the World Championships, 2008 in Beijing, and also setting an example for her two kids, too, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. Pretty impressive what she's doing. So we'll see back to competition, though, for the first time in about 9 years. So imagine the nerves and what she is going through right now as she starts that competition trek.
Yeah, she says that she's really a little bit nervous and doesn't know how she's going to respond, but she was one of the toughest competitors I'd ever known.
So we get underway with the first of two sessions today. And you got names who you know well, veterans who are here trying to make it once again to the Olympics, but also young athletes too. And Caitlin Rosen, a 15-year-old from Boerne, Texas, on beam.
Very nice start. That series, 3 elements in a row.
You know, we talk about this, I think, in every single competition, but sometimes starting on the balance beam can be a little bit more nerve-wracking, but so far she has really shown no problem. A lot of confidence.
Oh, boy. Very big and difficult leap right there. The dismount here. Wow, not bad, right? Nastia, wouldn't you say?
Great start. You know, those last few elements, the dance element and then the anoti that she did, one of my favorite skills, was just a little bit off, but was able to kind of get back on track.
Just a beautiful look, though, on a lot of the gymnastics. Great knees and toes on this triple series right there. A back handspring to 2 layout step outs.
So Move over to bars, and Connor McClain, a 16-year-old who really had her sights set on Paris in 2024, but then the Olympics were postponed, and guess what? She is age eligible now.
And that is a lot to take on mentally. You know, when you have the Olympics in mind for a certain year, so many athletes like to say that it's in the back of their minds. They don't think about it every single day, but, you know, it's pretty much impossible not to. And then all of a sudden, oh, wait, it's not that many years away. It is now right around the corner, and I have a shot.
And she does. Believe it or not, she's one of the most beautiful gymnasts that you'll ever see.
All right, over to Lori Hernandez as Connor McClain gets set, and she will be on ball. What do you make of what you've seen so far? Saw her at the Winter Cup, and it's a big challenge. First time in 5 years when we saw her here in Indy compete in that.
Yeah, and you know, as we kind of mentioned with Chelsea and talking about her and the passion and the love that she has for this sport, it is so great to be able to see her. And of course, as we saw at the Olympics, that bubbly personality, the smiles, the energy, you know, the experience that she has, and that she is able to kind of help these younger athletes who are just going through it for the very first time.
Yeah, it's I'm sure been an amazing journey for her. I'm sure she's learned a lot about herself. It is important to note that this competition is also a qualifying competition to the next step in the Olympic qualification procedures. She has opted to do only 2 events here tonight, balance beam and the vault right here. So what that means, she won't get the required score. She will need to petition to what's called the Athlete Selection Committee, made up of 3 different individuals: Tom Forrester, Tatiana Perskaya, and Jessie DeZiel, the athlete rep. And my guess is if she shows a good day today on her 2 events, that we'll see her in Fort Worth.
Had some scoring issues, so waiting around for the numbers right now. Caitlin Rosen, by the way, 12.9. We saw on beam a moment ago to kick it off. And McClain just about ready to go, I believe. You know, back to what you're talking about, though, whether it's you officially qualify with this event here or not, or wait to petition and see if you get in, this is that true first step. You can qualify for the U.S. Championships. That leads to qualifying for the Olympic trials.
Absolutely. This was rough for her. Oh, boy, and she had to bend her knees.
Oh, watch out.
She really, on that pirouetting skill, where she does that giant to full connected after the low bar to high bar element, she was really having some issues with that and had to bend her knees on the giant, and then of course the miss on the release. That's too bad.
In so many elements, especially on this event, they're all back to back, and everything's connected, or I guess not everything, but you want it to be connected in order to get a higher start value. And if one thing is just a little bit off, unfortunately, it just rolls into each skill after that.
But she is a gorgeous gymnast, just beautiful lines, nice stalter work. Doesn't help, though, Nastia, right? That having all that extra waiting time and just waters down to a simple laid-out somersault. She usually does a double front there.
Get that number in just a moment. Back over to vault, and Lori Hernandez just about ready. Mentioned the personality. We got another look at that and a sense of that talking to her after the Winter Cup too. Still very much like she wasn't real.
Yeah, they called her the human emoji, and I think she liked being called that. So wow, lots and lots of power right there. Really good stuff. In 2016 and before that, she did a double twist. That was only a full twist, but by that ball right there, easy can get another full twist around.
Yeah, and she has been doing that in training, but you know, as we mentioned, it's a long journey. It is a long process, Terry, from here then to the national championships, then the Olympic trials, and of course the Olympics later this year. But take a look, Tim, as you mentioned, she gets so high up in the air, and her body position perfect, hips open, stretched.
Right in the middle, Nastia, on that landing too. Doesn't have, so what she's missing out on not doing that full twist is 0.8 of a point in a bump of the start value. But absolutely looks like she can do a double twist without a problem.
And now to Haley Klein, the 16-year-old from the Chicago area, Lake Forest, Illinois. Born in Highland Park, Adlai Stevenson High School there, and will graduate in 2023.
But, you know, a lot of the athletes here, Terry, maybe they aren't really in the position to factor in to making it to Tokyo, because remember, it's only 4 people that will make that team as opposed to 5 at the last Olympic Games. But this is part of their journey. They've worked their entire lives for this as well, and they are at the first official event in the road to Tokyo. It's pretty big stuff.
Oh, beautiful combination.
Yeah. Just a couple of years ago, there really was only one person doing that combination, and now so tricky and done. That was spectacular. Dismount double pike. Wow, that was pretty much for her. I'm sure that was just about as flawless as she can do, right?
Yep, no major bobbles, no errors.
Talk about not yet being in a position to maybe make the Olympic team, but just being in a competition with the names that are here. It's got to go a long way in terms of your experience and confidence.
Absolutely.
Well, and a lot of that, too, is the experience, right? So for some of these athletes that are now finding themselves having a shot to make this Olympic team when they thought it was going to be in another 4 years, regardless of if they make it this year or not, they can take that experience on to the next cycle.
Laura Hernandez, by the way, that number on vault, 13.25, and Connor McLean, 11.1 on bars. How about Grace McCallum coming back from an injury?
Yeah, she's fantastic, Terry. She has had a very rough year, though. Injured her hand. That's what had what's called a boxer's fracture, excuse me. Was on the last 2 world teams and is a gold medalist in both of them.
Wow, and that was a great routine. We got to talk to her coach, Sarah, yesterday, and she said she was just so pleasantly surprised at how far along she is because she hasn't been able to train because of that injury. But she said, you know what, the best part is that she is here this week with 0 aches or pains, and that has really, truly never happened probably throughout her whole gymnastics
Fracture in
career.
her left hand said really she's been without pain since early May.
But look at this double twisting, double back. Extremely difficult. 2 twists, 2 flips.
That was great. Little bit of a problem right here at the end of this combination tumbling run, but she's very strong and very competitive, holds on. Yeah, she was out basically 11 weeks with this injury.
And that's also what, you know, Sarah told us, was she doesn't quite have that stamina yet, but was so excited to see the progress that she has made just within the last few weeks.
Haley Klein, 12.75 for Beam, and we go to Sky Blakely, the 16-year-old from Frisco, Texas, who was 35 days too young for the Olympics in 2020, but very much in the conversation now.
Without a question. Very difficult triple wolf turn, and then it gets even harder right here. Back with a full. Oh, boy. And that's a shame because I've seen her do that so many times here in Indy. Another big combination. Front handspring fronts. Older sister was very accomplished gymnast as well.
Just a little off on that. You know, it's so difficult when you start your routine with a huge mistake like that, just trying to mentally get back on track. And the best thing to do is to try not to think about what just happened, but it's hard to get that out of your mind. Here's the dismount. And normally just such a beautiful balance beam worker, as you saw, just difficult elements, has the flexibility, has a little bit of everything, and just wasn't quite able to have her best routine here.
In fact, it's an event she won at the Winter Cup right here last month.
And this is that back with the full twist, and you see she was just off her shoulders. Yeah.
Very difficult combination. Front handspring into a front somersault. A lot of the top athletes in the world do one of those major elements, either a back full or an Arabian, and then a handspring front. She does 2 of them.
And the dismount, round F double back. Really, what I love most, I think, is everything that she does on the balance beam. She performs with such ease. Nothing seems difficult. Nothing seems like she's putting too much effort or strength or, into every single element.
Yeah, Nastia, she's kind of like that everywhere. You know, she's a wonderful, wonderful gymnast.
Been a strong season, but that not her best, obviously. That performance on beam for the teenager, who it's got to be an adjustment. She said, you're not planning, obviously, on being a part of that Olympic conversation. Then all of a sudden you're thrust into it and all the pressure that comes with it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and she's like all of these athletes. They all have something on their body that's a little bit beaten up. She's had some stress fractures in her back that she's trying to come back from.
See some of the numbers there. Grace McCallum, that floor exercise, that routine, we saw 13.55. Lexi Zeiss for vault, 13.6. So this first rotation coming to a close for the top names, female gymnasts in America. And another session tonight that includes names like Simone Biles. Comes your way on NBCSN. So Sky waiting for those numbers.
Did you look, Nastia, when you had a rough routine? Did you look at the score?
I didn't want to, but I did. But
Forced
I think, yeah, of course. But every single tenth matters regardless. And I think it wasn't necessarily even looking at the total score, but breaking it down, looking at the difficulty, and making sure that that you're getting the level of difficulty that you were hoping to get, regardless of the total number.
So you saw the difficulty, the execution, the total number, and in yellow, just helping you out there, you want to be in green. So here's the 15-year-old from Pennsylvania, Skylar Drazer.
Skylar did compete a few weeks back at the American Classic. She was 21st on balance beam there.
And we talk about the confidence that you can gain at competitions like this, and a lot of times that's exactly what you are looking for. Every single time that you go on the podium, have a competition like this under the bright lights, now we have some audience back in the arena, you are going to be gaining experience, confidence, and that's only going to help carry through the rest of your career.
And she did it with all eyes on her, because rotation number 1 was complete except for that performance. So all the other gymnasts watching her too, part of that pressure. Chelsea Memo will see her on vault as we continue from Indianapolis. 2021 GK US Classic. Terry Gannon, Nastia Lukin, and Tim Daggett. So 1 rotation in the books, and we look at Chelsea Memmel, who's about to go on vault, coming up here in the 2nd rotation. Guys, how about, I mean, she was a teammate of yours. You competed against her as well. She's 32 years old now. Just some of the highlights from her career. Take you back to that World Championship back in 2005, and it did come down to 1/1000th of a point. She won the gold ahead of you. We can joke about it, but I know as an athlete, you never get over it.
You don't, but at the same time, you know, to be able to go 1-2 in the all-around was so special. And then, of course, the event finals. I mean, it was such a successful World Championships for Team USA, and, you know, being able to start off that quadrennium, then, of course, a few years later, go on to the Olympics again as teammates.
You took home the gold here, the all-around Beijing in 2008. She was a part of that Olympic silver medal team.
Just fantastic. And, you know, since she retired the first time from gymnastics, she's been a very high-rated judge for gymnastics competitions.
Started training at the gym, her parents' home, and she's got a 6-year-old son, 3-year-old daughter. She was just training to stay in shape, then to get in better shape. And then it turned into a little more serious activity. Said, boy, maybe I can do this, and here she is.
It's truly an inspiration, you know, to see her out here just doing something that she loves to do.
So those thoughts, those nerves, back to competition. 9 years away. Chelsea Memmel, part of the contingent here in Indianapolis as we continue. It's Lexi Zeiss who leads the way, a teenager from Omaha, Nebraska, after 1 rotation. Chelsea Memmel moments away from the vault, and this 2nd rotation for her, and our first look at her in competition for the first time in a long time. Can you imagine what you'd be going through?
No, but I will have to say the first time when we watched her in training yesterday, I was watching her on the balance beam, and for some reason immediately thought like, oh wait, I'm next, because I'm so used to it.
That's great.
And I'm sitting here in a dress. Oh my gosh, I'm not prepared. I
I'm
don't
not
have
ready.
a lead. And I was like, oh, okay, good.
Once an athlete, always think like an athlete.
Yeah, jeez. There's her coach, who also doubles as her dad. I was giving him a little bit of a hard time. Chelsea was going from one part of the arena to another. Oh boy.
Connor McLean, who we saw struggle on uneven bars to open up, 11.1 the number. Bit of discomfort as she prepares for routine on beam. perhaps.
Big test. There's that back full we saw from Sky earlier. Done great.
Huge pass right here.
Oh. It's a shame. My goodness, that was in the air, wasn't it? Wow.
Just absolutely gorgeous.
Fantastic leaps, great flexibility.
We talk about it all the time, but so much of gymnastics is not just the power and the strength, but also the artistry, the flexibility, the grace. And she is such a great example of having it all. Unfortunately, not having a great day today.
And she waters down her dismount, doesn't do a double somersault, which was probably a good decision the way she looks right now.
And we're told she is ill today, so it's been a struggle for Connor. And Malabuyo on bars, the 18-year-old from California who's training down in Flower Mound, Texas now.
With the great Kim Zemeskel, all-around world champion, Olympian. Big dismount, full twisting double layout, really nicely done. Emma is a wonderful gymnast as well, has really dealt with a lot of injuries throughout her career.
You know, as we've talked about, sometimes that extra year can be a little helpful, but wow, that dismount, gorgeous.
Great, right? Coordinator Tom Forrester told me that the extra year was really important for her, and she looks great. He's seen her at different training camps. And there, of course, her coach, Kim Zemeskel.
Then there are other athletes who were ready last year and who, for whom the delay was really tough to take.
Absolutely.
And may not take it. I mean, may not make the team. You never know.
And there's one of them right there. You know, Grace McCollum, she made the two last world teams, 2018, 2019, and she was a key player in both of them. She would have certainly been in that position again, but that extra year brought with it a lot of problems for her. A plate and 7 screws in that hand.
But of course, getting back on track here, and we saw her earlier on the floor exercise, and this is the kind of the competition, the time of the season where, you know, you don't have to be at your best. Of course, we did say that this is the first step in qualifying to the Olympic Games, but she's going to continue peaking as the summer, as we move closer to the Olympics, with the national championships in a few weeks, Olympic trials shortly after that.
2019 U.S. all-around bronze medalist getting set on vault, and then it will be Chelsea Memel vault as well.
Grace has been training an upgrade, different vault called a Cheng, which would give her actually 0.6 more in a start value. Just a double twist right here, but it's super powerful. Really, really love this gymnast's work. Just makes things look easier than you think they're gonna be.
So we'll probably see a very similar vault many times, but what the judges are looking for, a little bit of a pike down on the landing, her hips, little leg separation from that angle where the judges probably were not able to see as much.
This is more of the view that they would see, right,
Just
Nastia?
right at the end.
Yes.
Just a little bit of a separation there.
One of 6 kids in the family from Minnesota eventually plans to compete for the University of Utah. She hopes a trip to Tokyo in between.
Yeah. She was planning on hopefully training for Tokyo in 2020, but then it got postponed. She was not going to compete elite at the highest level. This year was going to take a gap year, then go to Utah and compete for the powerful Utah Utes.
Connor McLean, by the way, 11.8, the number from her beam routine. And the difficulty, the execution, 14.4, and there's the green. Kind of how they measure up with the top scores from the top athletes in the world. And now it is time for Chelsea Memel here on vault.
Yeah, she told me that she is very nervous and was having a hard time and didn't know exactly what she would be feeling. But as I said earlier, I've seen a lot of great gymnasts over the years. She was about as tough as they came.
Wow.
Wow, to the rafters and back. Oh, golly. Yeah, it's okay. Her coach, he can kiss her. That's her dad. Oh, boy, that was spectacular. Really good form and just great body position. And Nastia, how about the explosion off of that table? That was incredible.
So look, right off of the horse, just it keeps floating up in the air. Gorgeous body position.
So impressive. So impressive. This whole comeback started out to get in shape after having children. And she kept waiting for the time when things didn't go well. And she said it just didn't happen. It just got better and better. And so she just wanted to challenge herself.
You know, as incredible as that vault was, I think it was the excitement after of you know, I did it.
Yes.
So from a 32-year-old to a 15-year-old, Maya Whitty, yes, who is from Boca Raton, and in Green Acres, Florida, now training. It's an amazing sport when you can include a 32-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Yeah, it hasn't happened too often in the past, though, Terry.
No, true. These days, anything's possible.
This is a really cool little pass right here. A lot of bounce on this in training. Oh, that was great. She kind of looked like a small Shawn Johnson there, right? Nastia, that's the same pass does. Shawn did.
Supposed to connect these two elements.
That's too bad. That would have been spectacular to combine those two acros into those leaps, but still really beautiful stuff. Well, she already showed us she can tumble on the beam, so she'll do it again into the dismount.
Wow, and that was impressive. You know, doesn't have the experience as so many of these athletes have, but wow, she has a whole lot of skills in that beam routine.
That's a big time exercise.
All right, in terms of those numbers, I mentioned the green, the yellow, and the red, and we give you the difficulty and the execution, the total. So you want to be in that green area with the top numbers internationally, kind of compare them to that. And Chelsea Memel, 13.75 for vault.
And you see that execution score of a 915. That's a great score. I personally probably would have even gone up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too, Nastia.
I didn't quite see a point in deduction, but.
And Sky Blakely, who is in 8th place after the opening rotation, saw her over on beam, and now here on floor.
Well, a great way to recover from a first event problem. That was excellent gymnastics like she is always capable of doing.
And to keep a strong season going after that win on beam at the Winter Cup and an all-around win at the American Classic. Meanwhile, Jamison Sears, the 16-year-old, born in Virginia Beach, Virginia, now training in Yorktown, Virginia. Older sister did gymnastics. She followed and fell in love with it. Another athlete who competed here in Indianapolis just a few weeks ago at the American Classic.
Now on an even bar for Prestige Addison Tatum.
Very nice. That's unusual. You don't see that very often. Usually you got a back handspring in front of that second back handspring. Oh, boy. Beam has been treacherous, huh? Wow.
Despite the fall that she had, every single one of her skills, she has so much power. A little, not full split on that one right there, but here's the dismount.
Plenty of power. Huge double tuck, great form in the air.
Again, just needing to gain a little confidence. Was a little just timid throughout the entire routine.
Jamison Sears, who was in 13th after the opening rotation. So we'll get the number in just a moment. Maya Whitty, by the way, on beam 13.1 as we take you over to Skylar Drazer, once again the 15-year-old from Pennsylvania. Bit of an odd dynamic in here because it gets so quiet in between, doesn't it? I know we have people back. It's great to have fans back. Some fans, it's somewhat limited, but yeah, it's a bit quiet at the moment.
Well, that was tremendous comeback after that first tumbling run, double laid out somersault where she didn't get it all the way around, had to put her hands firmly on the ground. That's a full point off. She trains, that's Donna Strauss from the Parkett Gymnastics Organization in Allentown, Pennsylvania. They've been around in the sport of gymnastics for as long as anyone.
Sky Blakely, by the way, 13.3 for that effort on floor. Jamison Sears, 11.05 for what she did on beam, as Chelsea Memo saw the number that she got on her opening vault. She said coming in, as you look at some of the numbers there, Emma Malabuyo, 13.75 on bars. Said, I didn't know what to expect, especially in practice. Would people look at me like I'm crazy? She said, thankfully no one did, at least that I could see.
Yeah, I think she added to that, and if they did, they waited till I turned around, which was nice of them.
Exactly.
But really powerful, full twisting. Yurchenko certainly going to do a double full very soon, I would imagine, at the next championships. And, you know, Terry, I started to say this earlier. You know, gymnastics, you qualify from one meet to the next. Along this process of her coming back, she actually judged a qualifier for the GK US Classic.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? And
but you know what? She said that helps actually right now, because they look at tapes every night. No longer tape, it's digital, but dating myself. But she said it helps to think as a judge and what deductions would be taken, what she could do better.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that that's that mentality that you kind of always want to have as an athlete, maybe not necessarily always overthinking it, but understanding, seeing it from the side, watching, you know, footage, and seeing her out here too. It's just there's that level that we talk about with so many of these athletes that is just not quite there with the confidence, and it is the complete opposite, obviously, with Chelsea and the experience that she has. And so she truly is being that leader out here on the competition floor. And again, I know I keep saying this, but it's truly for the love of the sport.
Saw the number there for Drazer, 11.45. Caitlin Rosen now set on floor.
Great routine there, a lot of difficulty. Loved the choreography and the dance elements as well.
Beautiful double laid out somersault to start off that routine.
So Rosen, who was in sixth after her effort on beam, will get the number and continue. Veterans and youngsters here head to rotation number 3 in Indianapolis. McCallum leading the way. So 2 rotations complete here. It's Grace McCallum with that number leading the way. Lexi Zeiss, Ava Seidfeld rounding out the top 3, and then Sky Blakely and Caitlin Rosen as we continue. And Lori Hernandez will be heading over to beam here in this next rotation. Terry Gannon, Nastia Lukin, and Tim Daggett with you. Remember, this starting that road to Tokyo, this and then the U.S. Championships and eventually the U.S. Olympic trials. What a month straight ahead here on the family of networks on NBC. in Indianapolis, the GK US Classic, and Grace McCallum leading the way as Shilese Jones gets set, the 18-year-old from Ohio who had some great showings back in 2018, had top 5 finishes in the all-around at this US Classic and also the US Championships, and recently here in 2021 at the Winter Cup, and a second place finish in the all-around there. Did have some of the top names there not doing all 4 of the events. Remember though, this just the first of 2 sessions, so whoever ends up on top at the end of this afternoon, we've got tonight to come on NBCSN, including watching Simone Biles, which is never a bad thing.
That's for sure. And I'll tell you what, Shilese, she is one of the most powerful athletes that you'll ever see. Just gigantic air from her all the time. Talking about the postponement of the Olympic Games, she said it was heartbreaking for me, honestly. I was so mentally and physically ready, I didn't know how to feel because it was never in my hands. But she'll do some releases where it's just huge air.
Not just that, but gorgeous lines. The extension right on top of the bar, exactly what the judges are looking for.
Oh, jeez. And that's the one, that's my favorite release that she does. Talking to her coach, Christian Gallardo, possibly thinking about whether she should repeat the element again. Nope.
And the reason why, obviously a few reasons, but she was supposed to connect it into that packed salto. A lot of times some athletes almost don't even know how to do a skill without that connection, but was able to do it. But you saw her take those few swings in between.
Well, that's a shame because I love watching all the training before the events begin, and boy, she is just something else. Just the height that she can achieve on those releases, just a little too far away.
So we'll see the number in a moment on the uneven bars for her. Sky Blakely, meanwhile, talking things over, getting ready over here on vault.
So we've seen a handful of full twisting Yurchenkos and a couple of double twists. She's going to do a double twist.
I've seen her do a little bit better. It was almost like she rushed a little on that table. So what you're going to look for is when she stretches back onto her back handspring on the table, she doesn't quite get the block, the repulsion off right here. See, almost her elbows were just a little bit bent, so wasn't able to get that height off of the table.
You should see a clear phase of her doing nothing but going up and flipping, and she's starting to twist like right off of the table. I've seen her do
overall still.
Oh, it's a great vault, yes, as you said, Nastia, but it's not quite as powerful as she's capable of doing.
It was a good look at that elbow though from that angle to see. All right, Grace McCallum now, the leader after 2 rotations. Then coming in and saying, yeah, I'm healthy, I don't have pain, but now testing it in this setting, a big deal for her this weekend.
And, not just physically, not just the injuries that she has had, but also mentally. So many of these athletes are, competing for the first time possibly in a lot of weeks and months because of last year.
But I asked her, what's your best quality? And she said that I can stay calm and relaxed and that I don't have to think too much.
And that is something that she has always done at no matter what competition. Gorgeous combinations.
Ooh, that one was far too, huh? Oh, boy.
A little too close on that one.
You see maybe a little bit of fatigue at this point also.
But you know what? She has not been training for very long since the injury, and that is exactly what her coach, Sarah, said. She was so proud of her for just being able to be out here competing. You know, not quite the stamina, and you see her coach, Sarah, there just encouraging her.
Yeah, Sarah actually told me just weeks ago at a training camp, I was as ecstatic when she put together 3 elements in a row.
And now she's doing a full routine, which is not easy.
So Shilese Jones on bars before her, 12.95, the number for her. Caitlin Rosen just about ready on vault. Sky Blakely, by the way, an even 14 for that vault.
Nice vault, very clean. 1.5 twist as opposed to a full or a double full, so it splits the difference on difficulty. This one has a maximum score of a 15.4 if you add together the difficulty and the execution. Pretty good body position in the air, just a hop forward.
So let's take a look again off of the table. Pretty straight. Little soft knees in the air, but again, it's what we call the blind landing. So her back is, she lands with her back facing the table. Tries to kind of spot the ground just a little bit before she lands.
Over her shoulder,
Over her
yeah.
shoulder.
Fifth place after 2 rotations, so we wait for the number for the effort on vault, see where she will figure in. We'll talk more about it, especially tonight, but I mean, how many names do you think are in the mix for those 4 team spots? What do you think?
12.
That was quick.
Not that he's
13 or 11, but 12. You've done the math already.
13, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a lot of names.
It is a lot of names, yeah. There's a lot of unknown, you know. It's many athletes have yet to compete until here.
13.65, that number. NBA Frazier now. We get a look at the teenager who now trains in New Jersey. Saw at the U.S. Championships last year when she was a junior, and then at the Winter Cup recently here in Indy.
Oh, baby. She has some jump, that's for sure. Gorgeous. Older sister, Margetta, a standout at UCLA, had a viral routine this year on the floor exercise. John Holman, longtime coach at the Parkettes, right there. That's pretty good, pretty powerful, right?
And not just UCLA, her sister, of course, competed on the national team as well before going on.
But there have been a few floor routines from UCLA that have gone big on social media. Yeah.
Nia Dennis, of course, also. And last year, Caitlin Ohashi.
All right, Lauren Hernandez, the 20-year-old from New Jersey, set to go on balance beam. Youngest member of that U.S. team in Rio. Part of the gold medal effort. Silver medal on beam at the Olympics. So competing in 2 of the events here, that not on bars or on floor in Indy this week. Guys, you think that's part of the plan, or is that an adjustment once you got here?
Well, the one thing is, if you did 4 events at this competition and you don't reach the 52 score, you cannot petition. So by doing only 2 or 3 events, you have the ability to put in a petition. I would say that she did a good enough job on vault. She showed a lot of potential, could do a double twist on it. And this routine right here, you know, very valuable. As you said, you know, she's silver medalist at the last Olympics.
You're talking in order to make the U.S. championships.
Absolutely, to move on to the next leg. Oh. And I was about to say that was one of the best pike fronts I've seen her do. Really locked legs on that, taking the risk and it not working on that one. Just snapped back, though, after that fall and has looked rock solid.
You know, that's what she has always done so well, just so calm, so cool, collected, especially on the balance beam where that's not always an easy task.
But she has, you know, just great fight in her. Able to save things that others typically couldn't. Just a back chuck dismount. Did do a double at the Winter Cup. I don't know.
Got that score in a moment. MJ Frazier, by the way, on vault, 13.95. And Grace McCallum, who we saw on uneven bars, 13.2.
Yeah, Lori is not accustomed to coming off the balance beam. So what makes this so much more difficult is watch her legs. She won't bend them. They'll be straight. Oh, no. Looking at the dismount. Sorry, I thought we were going to look at that fall on the front flip. Look at her legs. They're straight as opposed to tucked. And just couldn't find enough beam underneath her feet.
You see her left foot right there, just, and then her right foot also. But you know what, right there, that is exactly what a coach tries to teach every single athlete. Fight for it no matter what. And of course she did come off of the balance beam, but that's what you want to see. You know, so often, whether it's in practice or competitions, you see some of these athletes just
jump
hop off
yeah.
if they're even just the slightest bit off. So of course didn't end the way that she was hoping to, but that fight was tremendous.
Big picture, what does it mean for those chances?
Well, it's going to be up to that selection committee because from what I've heard, she does, you know, with coming in doing only 2 events, she knew to move on to the U.S. Championship, she was going to have to file a petition. So it's going to come up to that 3-person athlete selection committee.
And as an athlete, you hate to have it in the hands of someone. She had planned on that coming in, just doing the 2 events, but you'd love to go there with an argument.
Absolutely, and she definitely hurt herself with that routine right there.
And the difficulty, the execution, 12.2, the disappointing number, the balance beam for Lori Hernandez.
I'm surprised she didn't do the dismount because, you know, everybody falls on beam, everybody. And not finishing the dismount, I don't know, maybe she tweaked something a little bit, but
So Addison Feta now on beam. Born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Wrightsville, her hometown.
Oh, that was fast. So what do you think she's thinking, Nastia, seeing like a gymnastics balance beam icon falling right before her? You think that?
Well, you would hope that that doesn't affect you, but a lot of times it does, especially if it's somebody that, like you just mentioned.
But might it take some pressure off?
It could.
It could.
Even the best make mistakes?
Best make mistakes.
Well, you know, the best athletes, they find a way in any situation, whatever happens, they find a way to look at it in a positive light.
I think the best thing to do, though, is kind of, as much as you can, stay in your lane, meaning stay focused. Don't necessarily think about what happened before, what might happen after you. Easier said than done sometimes, of course.
Two back handsprings to a double twist. You know, a few years ago, you would never have seen that. It would have been considered too easy, but the rules have changed. And, you know, you have top athletes, many Chinese gymnasts who are considered, you know, some of the best beam workers in the world do that dismount. She did it great, stuck the landing, so it paid off.
Parents own a gym. They are her coaches as well.
And here's that dismount. So 2 back handsprings into that double twist. And as you mentioned, Tim, it's because of the rules changing. Now you are able to do so much more of an easier dismount, but it's that risk versus reward that we always talk about, right? So she, of course, her start value is going to be a little bit lower than, say, somebody else that had a more difficult dismount, but she stuck the landing, didn't really get as much deduction on that dismount.
I don't mean to get sidetracked, but I just keep coming back to this in my mind. That's why what Simone Biles is doing is so extraordinary. She doesn't have to do most of it.
She doesn't. She doesn't need to do one extra thing from what she did in Rio to win gold in Tokyo.
Those numbers on some of the names and the routines that we saw. Rosen on vault, 13.65, 13.95 for Frazier. Grace McCallum on bars, the 13.2, and it is McCallum who leads the way here in this third rotation. Just waiting for the number of the previous gymnast and the effort here. Emma Malabuyo through the silence in the convention center.
It's crazy, right?
Right.
It's crazy.
We'll try to talk quietly. I know many can hear us out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like the crowd's a little out of practice
Exactly.
being at a live event.
It's okay
as well.
to make some noise here, you know.
She said that she was really good at swinging on the monkey bars when she was little, so her parents put her into gymnastics classes as a 2-year-old.
Which you hear often.
You do.
I had a lot of energy, so my parents put me in gymnastics. Here we go on me.
That was great. Another one here. Allowed to do it. Oh, wow. Good fight.
Allowed to do it because the first one, of course, 3 turns all the way around. The second, just a double. Gorgeous.
Oh,
Wow.
boy. Ever since she was a little kid, she's been one of those athletes that everybody just gravitates to. So beautiful in her gymnastics, and time after time she's dealt with these injuries, and it's like heartbreaking for the fans, certainly for her family. But I'll tell you, it's really nice to see an athlete that the pause, the year extra, actually worked to their advantage.
Just the dismount left. And you know what? That beam routine was spectacular. Every single element, it was as if she was doing it on the floor, not on a beam that's 4 inches wide.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So happy to see her back.
Here's that combination, 3 elements in a row, back handspring, back layout. Effortless.
Making it look easy. The teenager from California, now based in Texas, Ken Semeskel, her coach. So we move on, look ahead to the 4th rotation. Grace McCallum dealing with an injury, comeback. She's been great so far, leading the way. Years later, this time it's on their own terms. Stream every episode of Girls 5 Eva now exclusively on Peacock. So getting set for rotation number 4 here in downtown Indy. Chelsea Memel will be finishing up on beam. Right now it's Grace McCallum who leads the way overall. But remember, this is the first of 2 sessions. Got another one coming tonight. There is the leader right now, guys. Check out the numbers. 41.15. Sky Blakely in second. Caitlin Rosen. Any surprises to this point for y'all?
Well, I think Grace has done a great job, and she's going to have no problem. I think she'll be much better in a couple of weeks when we see her at the U.S. Championships. I have been a little bit surprised with some of the younger athletes. Sky Blakely, she's done a better job since her first event, and, you know, it's just you never know how an athlete is going to perform until you're on the stage at that moment.
No matter what they did in practice yesterday, and you were sitting here watching all of those efforts. How about Chelsea Memel and what you make of her comeback at this point, Nastia?
Well, you know, I think, as we've talked about, the greatest thing has just been seeing her out there on the floor again. You know, it was, as you mentioned, it was really just trying to get back in some kind of shape. And now all of a sudden, it's not just getting back in shape. It's competitive shape. She is now out here with the best in the world again. And, you know, when she was one of those, and she's looking like the mentality, and just like watching her right here, the focus, it's as if it hasn't been almost a decade, you know?
You know, when athletes talk about their quote-unquote journey, sometimes you raise your eyebrows and kind of go, journey. It's just what, no, for her, it's been a journey because it wasn't planned. It started out just, again, as a way to stay in shape, to get in shape, and it just accelerated from there. One step and another step. Try this, try that. It gets better. Boy, maybe I can actually do this. And at the age of 32, a mother of two is out here competing with the best.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like people are saying, why? Why, Chelsea? Why are you doing this? Is it you want to go to the Olympics? You feel you need to redeem something? And the why is because she loves gymnastics. And
how about a why not and because I can?
Yeah, exactly, right? Changing that mentality. And I think from the beginning, too, she didn't really put any pressure on herself, right? She was doing it because it was doing it and is doing it because she loves the sport. And so I think that sometimes feels like it's missing, you know, a lot of times on the competition floor where, you know, there is so much pressure. There are so many nerves. There's so much involved, and just being able to see her truly have that love, the joy, the passion.
And here's the thing, you've got some athletes here competing who were maybe too young to even, when she was at her best, have been watching her or know about it.
Do you know how they know her? They used to raise their hand as they're about to mount balance beam, and she was judging them. That's how they know her.
You're my judge.
All right, start of rotation number 4, and Sky Blakely ready.
This can be a dynamic routine. Great handstands. Another release right here in combination. Really good.
A little short on that one handstand, but wasn't effective. Good fight right there as well. Slight hesitation.
A little bit of a watered down dismount, but that was a success right there. Very nice routine. Well done.
And remember, in second going into this final rotation, and there is the leader over on B, Grace McCallum.
Start with a back dive. Right to a handstand. Trickier than it looks. Probably looks tricky to a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
Really good start. From the same gym as Maggie Nichols, who was a top gymnast in the last quad, unfortunately had a knee injury in the year of the Olympic Games and kind of took her. Wow, it's great stuff. Took her out a little bit. Maggie was very close, but was not chosen as a competitor or an alternate. A lot of people thought that wasn't right.
Wow, and what a day. You know, for her to come in here not quite being as prepared as she probably hoped, she she really did what she needed to do. Hasn't been training as much because of the injuries, wasn't fully even competition ready, but she really proved him, as you mentioned, she can stay calm. She can stay, you know, under pressure, under the bright lights, even when she's not at her most physically prepared self. She can deliver.
Proved to a lot of people that maybe she is ready at this point and healthy. How about Connor McClain? You mentioned the connection athlete-wise. She's from West Virginia, a couple hours from the hometown of Mary Lou Retton. Her mom, former gymnast, used to compete against Mary Lou back in the day. Been a tough day so far.
Really want to see her knock this out of the park. She's capable. Oh boy, that was gorgeous. Really, really good. Great explosion off the table. Great form in the air, just a small little step.
But that's pretty much what we see every single time in training. Take a look at the block off of the table. Beautiful body position, just that step back on landing.
That might be the highest vaulting score we'll see in this first round. We'll see it go much higher with Simone Biles in round 2. But that was great.
And knows it. She knows it. The best yet. Waiting for the number for Grace McCallum.
Her coach, Sarah Jancy, she says, sometimes people forget about Grace, and it makes me a little bit sad. And I said to her today, don't worry, I never forget about her. And if you do, you're really not that wise, because she is one tough competitor.
Important step today, don't you think? Right now, where she fits in, a lot of questions answered.
Absolutely. I mean, she still has a ways to go, and she knows that. But she's really only been back training full on for a very short amount of time.
Sky Blakely, while we wait for this number, by the way, for uneven bars, 14.05. So she was in second place behind Grace McCallum coming into this rotation. And one of these days they'll have the number.
You know, the pandemic, you know, the judges haven't been practicing either.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. So Chelsea Memel now the last rotation here, and see what she has in store for us now. Oh, they got the number. Here we go. The difficulty, execution totaled up to 13.95. What do you think?
Pretty good, pretty good. It could have been a little bit better. She had one little itsy-bitsy thing in the routine, but she definitely showed that she is a worthy competitor on the floor today and will be in consideration.
In the lead right now, McCallum likely the top name at the end of the afternoon. Words of encouragement for Chelsea Memel. You hear them here in the arena. Connor McClain, by the way, that vault, 14.4. That's the second highest total on vault today.
Chelsea starts out with a big leaping element that's a little risky right off the top. Actually held back a little bit on that. Got a little careful. Here we go, though.
Beautiful.
This is cool right here. Illusion turn. Ooh. Very risky. Huge element. Oh. Oh, boy. Arabian at the end of the routine.
I was just about to say.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And that's what she's been planning on doing and what she's been working on, but I don't know. I think when she did it in the past, it was in the beginning. But put this to her feet. Big air, double pike.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Came in saying, I don't know at all what to expect, and there are moments that you didn't expect or plan on.
But you know, I think what I loved most was, of course, she was hoping not to come off on the balance beam, but this first series right here, backhand swing, back layup, again, we've seen so many of the athletes do, was just stunning.
But then the Arabian, not enough rotation. It wasn't off to the side at all, just didn't have enough rotation. Dismount was great, round off to a double pike. Great set, 2 times around, 1 step backwards. And even though she wants to do better, that smile was genuine.
It was, and just to finish my thought was what I loved most, she came out here and she did exactly what she was planning to do. You know, she didn't really water any routines down. This has been what she has been training. And despite a mistake on this balance beam, still ended her day and her routine with not only a very difficult dismount, but the smile on her face and her little, you know, fist, whatever you want to call it, fist bump.
Got a lot of people in the sports world watching, paying attention, and including a great Olympic name, Bonnie Blair. Just got a text watching and cheering. Big Chelsea Memel fan, her and her daughter.
Yeah.
Competed at her gym, trained at her gym. Get the number now. We'll see what it is in a few moments for Memel. As this last rotation continues, MJ Frazier over on uneven bars.
Ooh. You saw her feet, her calves kind of brush the floor. Not allowed for that to happen. It'll be a little bit of a deduction. And she was supposed to make it past the handstand. Oh, repeating it. Wow. Great finish, double laid out somersault, but a little bit rough. You know, right in the beginning, kind of scraped her calves on the floor after the release from high to low.
And so early in the routine, it's got to be on her mind, you would think.
Well, and it's one thing after another. Everything is connected, but here's that dismount, double layout. A little bit of a leg separation there, but again, from the angle that the judges are sitting, probably didn't quite see that.
Yeah, really, it's amazing because it's so visible when it's shot in that way, and if you are from the side, it's basically invisible. It's funny, and because of that, Nasty, I don't know what you think, but because of that, the gymnasts, they're a little laxed with it, and they don't really worry about that deduction, whereas they could easily keep their legs together. I don't think it would make it more difficult.
That number 11.8, Chelsea Memel looking up to the board now.
I don't know. The execution score for me just seems a little harsh. I understand that she had
Quite
the
a hit
fall,
there.
but I don't know.
You know what's ironic? There are judges that judged that routine, that judged with Chelsea many, many times. And so it's, you know, they're certainly not out to get Chelsea, but I would agree with you, Nasty. I thought that was a little bit harsh.
You're making me think now to a deeper level. Okay, what does that mean? Okay.
I think she's probably a little surprised as well, you
Yeah.
know, especially knowing exactly what she did.
And Jay waiting for the number from bars.
She had a great opportunity at the end of 2020, got to travel to Tokyo, Japan for the Friendship and Solidarity competition. She was part of the first place team, and it was her senior debut as a gymnast.
Okay. Prob.
Well, and think about when that took place. I mean, at the end of, or the beginning of the Open.
Yes, absolutely.
So only thing running through my mind at the time was
Will be attending University of California, Berkeley next year. She said, no, I'm not a Bruin, but my sister and I were both Bears.
So 13.05, and she did certainly suffer some numbers-wise from that mistake. So Teppa Landry will be next to go on balance beam. 16-year-old, trains in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Born in Littleton, Colorado. Maple Grove Senior High, and 2023 will be her senior year of graduation there.
Competed a couple of weeks ago here in this very building. Was 12th all around.
Yeah, had the American Classic. Before that, the Winter Cup. She's eyeing the 2024 Olympics.
Hold on.
You know, it was a good routine, not as difficult as a lot of the other gymnasts out here, just ending with a full and a half twist.
But once again, you know, the rules changed, and so the athletes are, you know, making the decision as to what is going to produce the best score. But to put it in perspective, so that was one flip with 1.5 twist. Simone Biles debuted her own skill at the World Championships in 2019, a double flip with 2 complete twists.
I know it puts it in perspective. That's not fair to a 16-year-old. Come on now.
Yes, I really wasn't comparing it.
But here's that back handspring back layout. So you see, just from the beginning, a little tough to tell from that angle, but I don't know where we're sitting, Tim. I could really see she was completely off from that first back handspring, but was able to fight it.
Full and a half at the end, as we mentioned. But a nice job, you know. Didn't come off the beam. There, anytime you can do that, that's a win, right?
Absolutely.
So Landry waiting for the number. And Charlize Jones will be next on balance beam.
Makes it a little bit more fun when you have teammates.
Yeah, there's 3 of them from Twin City Twisters that are competing here, and the 2 besides Grace are both wearing the blue leotard, and Grace is wearing pink. And I asked Sarah, what's the deal with that? And she goes, well, she was going to wear blue, but she said every year at the Classic she always wears pink. So she said, I'm going with pink.
Sticking with the traditions.
12.4 the number for Temple Landry. Charlize Jones up next, the 18-year-old from Ohio. And this last routine of this afternoon session. Charlize in 13th place, coming into the 4th and final rotation.
As I said, when we saw her on bars, huge power, and you'll see it right here. Oh, no. That was up in the air, that's for sure, but you grab the balance beam, major deduction.
Good fight there, just a little bit off almost every single element. You know, sometimes it's tough to get back on track. One little thing is off, the next little thing, and you kind of have to just snap back into it. But just gorgeous lines makes everything, the power, look so much bigger. And not quite her day, but Tim, as you mentioned, just absolutely gorgeous. The way that she does the elements, it just makes it all look so different than, you know, a lot of the other athletes that even do the same skills.
So Charlize Jones, the final effort here on beam, and we wrap up session number 1. Grace McCallum, the top number. Remember, tonight's still to come as well. We'll come back and talk about what we've seen in a moment. With names like Simone Biles, but after the opening session, it is Grace McCallum with that top number, 55.1. Scott Blakely in second, Seifeld, and then Frazier, Miller, and Zeiss, the names competing here this afternoon at this GKUS Classic. So terrific effort this afternoon by Grace McCallum, who joins us right now. Grace, Terry Gannon, along with Nastia Lukin and Tim Daggett. You got the smile on your face for a reason. You had to overcome a lot, including that injury. How would you characterize what took place this afternoon in your efforts?
Yeah, I'm just really excited to get back out there, and I just wanted to, I don't know, kind of get my feet wet and see what I need to improve on for the rest of this season.
And so, Grace, this is Tim. What do you think you do need to improve on to be in the running? You know, 2018, 2019, you were part of the very elite group making those world teams. Where do you need to go from here?
Yeah, there's lots of little things I need to improve on, and I think a lot of it is just confidence and getting those nerves out. But yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm really happy with how I did today, but I'm ready to get back in the gym and fix those little things.
Well, we're obviously so excited to see you back out there on the competition floor, and you say you needed a little bit more confidence. I don't know. Look, judging from up here, you seemed like you didn't even miss a beat, but you know, as Tim mentioned, the national championships are coming up. So looking ahead, what would be your goal for that event?
I think just going up and hitting 4 for 4 again, but doing the routines I know I can do in the gym. Yeah.
Well, we are definitely so proud of you, and we are wishing you all the best in the preparation in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Grace, thank you, and congratulations on the effort this afternoon. Best of luck in the next couple of weeks. Important ones in terms of those trying to make it to Tokyo. Well, we saw that comeback. Chelsea Memel. It's been a long time, 9 years away. One of the top names, world championships all around, and the Olympics as well, and back competing at the highest level. Really interesting to watch that take place this afternoon in Indianapolis, guys. Pretty impressive, this whole journey for her.
Oh, it has been absolutely amazing. You know, as I said, from the moment that she walked in, I saw just a true inspiration to so many people, not even in the gymnastics world, just overall the entire world.
Lucky enough to have her with us. Chelsea, congratulations on the comeback. It's really something to watch you this afternoon. You said you didn't quite know what to expect this weekend in Indianapolis. What do you take away?
I feel like this is a win. I didn't know what to expect, honestly, when I got out on the floor. Was I going to just, like, fall over and faint of nerves? Like, I don't know. I felt really good. It felt great to start on vault with, you know, one of my best vaults of the weekend. Obviously, beam didn't go as well as I wanted, but I'm happy. I put myself out there, and I couldn't have asked for a better day.
I mean, Chelsea, I think I already told you this when I first saw you, but when I saw you on the balance beam for the first time in training, you kind of had me double think what was I wearing, because I was wearing a dress and not a leotard, because I thought I was supposed to go after you. But just seeing you, and I've kind of said this all day, you've been such an inspiration for so many people, but you know, the love of the sport for you it obviously shows, but what is it that truly drives you every single day, especially on those days that you wake up and you're tired, you're sore, and maybe you don't really want to go to training that day?
That is, it is. It's just, I love doing it. And I'm not going to get sick of saying this, and I'm not going to stop saying it, because that's really the biggest driving force of just enjoying doing gymnastics. I love doing gymnastics, and there definitely are those hard days, but those days are the ones where I'm like remembering, like, you're just pushing yourself, you're having fun, you're seeing how far you can actually take this. When people said you should have retired when you were 20 or when you were 24, you can't have kids and come back to a sport. Like, it's that kind of thinking, I feel, is so backwards that, but that's what we think is true, and it's not true. And that's, for me, I just wanted to put that message out to anybody who thought they missed their chance at something, or didn't get a chance to try it, or wanted to go back to their sport even just for fun. Like, no one should be stopping you. Just don't hold yourself back.
Well, thank you for helping to shatter that big myth. It's an amazing thing that you're doing, and you're doing it for yourself, but I know you, and you're doing it for everybody else as well. I don't know, I looked at that beam score, though. I know you came off on it, and I think you've judged with some of those ladies before, haven't you? I don't know, are you going to have a conversation with them in the lounge a little bit later?
No, I won't. I totally respect that score. I am just glad I didn't come off on that mount, because my leg, I was so nervous that my leg on the board just kind of gave out. It was like, no, I'm not going to work for you right now. Are you kidding me?
Oh, golly. Well, such a pleasure. What a bright light in this arena. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Chelsea.
Thank you, guys.
Inspiring to watch, Chelsea. Thank you. Something else. We've got much more to come, by the way, and this all the road to Tokyo. Eventually the U.S. Gymnastics Championships in a couple of weeks, Fort Worth, and then the U.S. Olympic trials from St. Louis, leading up to the Olympics beginning July 23rd. So Grace McCallum, the best of anybody this afternoon here in Indianapolis, but might wrap up the first session. Not tonight. They've got 5:30. We've got a special warm-up show. Simone Biles, Morgan Hurd, and the other top names preparing for tonight's event. And then you can tune into NBCSN at 7 o'clock Eastern for live coverage of the second session. For Nastia, Tim, and our entire crew, I'm Terry Gannon. See you then, everybody, from Indy.